Black Magic Woman podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on. We also acknowledge traditional owners of the land where you, the listener or viewer, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to our elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was Aboriginal land and always will be Aboriginal land.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Wonnarua Bales.
Hello and welcome to another amazing episode. Every single episode is amazing of the Black Magic Woman podcast. I am really excited, and just this moment of being able to sit with Black women, to sit with women who inspire me, and to sit with women who I can't wait for other people to find out about. And that's why I love doing this podcast, is I get to amplify the many Black voices, whether we're in business or not, it doesn't matter. Our stories, our experiences, and the roles that we play in our family and community, and now in the business sector, excites me. So I know I always say I'm excited to have this yarn, but I truly am feeling blessed, privileged, to finally, find out more about your amazing, not just one business, there's a few businesses there. But as always, I say to people, following proper protocol and just acknowledging that I'm on the unceded, beautiful lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people. And they refer to this country in their language as Budja. So we're on, Noongar Budja, Whadjuk Noongar Budja. Here I am, 2 days, and those words are sticking with me already. And I've got the absolute privilege to be able to speak with local people, local mob, and just talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about. So without further ado, Amanda Healy, welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast. Can you please share with my listeners, and also we've got viewers on YouTube, a little bit about yourself, your mob, where you grew up, and whatever it is that you want to share.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. It's beautiful to be here. And you're right, we are on gorgeous Whadjuk Noongar Budja, which I really appreciate. So my people are the Wonnarua people from the Hunter Valley in New South Wales, but and I'm part of the Taggart family over there. I have lived here in WA since I was about 15 years old. My dad brought us over, I guess, as young people, just for better opportunities that he would never have had on his own country. So he was always thankful and loved living in Western Australia. Spent many years around Geraldton, the Murchison, the Pilbara. I guess he worked in the mining industry because it was one of those industries that people didn't ask too many questions in those days. So he was able to find work to support his family. And it was sort of natural for me to go into the mining industry. I probably went in there when I first started working there when I was about 22. And I've been in the mining industry ever since.
Wow.
Which is a long time, and it has its faults, and it does some dumb stuff at various times, as I guess all business does. But by and large, it employs a lot of our people, and now is encouraging a lot of Aboriginal businesses to develop here. So I think we are the largest group of Aboriginal businesses in the country are here, and most of them servicing the mining industry.
So the Noongar Chamber of Commerce has about 500 members.
Yes. Amazing, isn't it?
That's exactly it. So that's like obviously when you said we've got the largest number of Aboriginal businesses in this region, and majority of those business service the mining industry, and majority of our people that live on the West Coast are working in these mines and putting food on the table for their families.
Absolutely.
So, I'm glad that we can find sometimes that common ground or mutual ground, of sometimes even being torn between, morally, culturally, what's the right thing, should we be doing business with them? So, I always say that, for me as an individual, who am I to judge if somebody's only opportunity sometimes is that industry.
And it is interesting, and a lot of people are conflicted about it. Some won't work in it, ever, and that's fine. That's great. And there never seems to be an issue about others working in it, which I think is great. We all accept that that's the major industry in this part of the world. So, and it's providing opportunities for our people that, to be fair, have never been available before. And more, every year we're seeing more and more businesses, individuals with, operating in senior levels in mining companies. It's amazing. And as you say, putting food on the table, helping extended family, pulling extended family into roles and jobs that they would never have thought about doing 20 or 30 years ago. So it has got its bugs. It's got its bugs, but yeah.
But it is what it is. When I say to people, what can we do to change things? Well, we won't get into that yet because I've got better things we want to talk about.
Absolutely, yes.
Wonnarua people is my mother's country.
Is that right?
So my mother was the daughter of Patricia Riley, and Patricia was a miller.
Yes.
And Patricia's mother was Beatrice Miller.
Right.
And Beatrice is the daughter of Harriet, and Harriet's the daughter of Sarah. And Sarah Waters is the matriarch
of your family.
She's the Aboriginal ancestor that you have to prove your connection to be a member of the Wonnarua Nation Aboriginal Corporation.
Yes.
So we are probably related.
No doubt. So my apical elder is Harry Taggart.
Yes.
And there is Millers, we're married into the Millers, so probably more by marriage, unless you go right back.
There's a Harry Miller in my family. There's a Tommy Miller. There's a Harry Miller.
Yeah.
I think it was Beatrice's brother, Harry.
Yeah, okay.
But you've got Harry Taggart.
Harry Taggart,
That's your apical ancestor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who would have thought two Wonnarua women sitting on the couch on Wajak Noongar
country looking gorgeous in Kirrikin?
Well, let's tell people you have been all around the world. Last time we connected, I wanted to yarn with you and come over here, and you were off to Germany.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. Like, I knew that you did fashion and beautiful fashion, but traveling the world and doing these, runways or private shows, can we share, let's go back now. What made you get into fashion, from mining industry to fashion?
And I guess it was about mining in the first place, because at the time, about 2010, when it became a thing to identify as Aboriginal businesses, what was then AMC grew up or was developed,
which is now Supply Nation.
Supply Nation, that's correct, yeah. So we identified as an Aboriginal business in the mining industry, which was a small fabrication business in Port Hedland, and I started doing presentations, and I went looking for a nice scarf that could represent who we were, where we're from, and had authentic connection to the mob. Guess what was around?
Nothing,
not a bloody thing. Oh, am I allowed to say that?
Yes,
sorry.
You can say bloody.
Yeah, it could have been worse, I suppose.
Yes.
So I started complaining about it for a couple of years, and then finally, when I couldn't see any change and not many people had any interest or the ability to do stuff, we set up Kirrikin in 2014. So we're 10 years old this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's gone very quickly, I got to tell you. So I started doing scarves and ties.
That's where I first met you. Supply Nation.
Yes.
A long time ago, about 8 years ago.
Yeah, would be.
I first met you and you had the scarves. And at that time, I couldn't even keep my phone on a black card. I kept getting it disconnected because I couldn't pay my bill.
Yeah.
So I was looking at these scarves 8 years ago, and I knew one day.
You would have to have one.
One day. And today you gifted me one. Not just one.
But a few bits and pieces, yeah.
So thank you. I literally, for me, it was a pinch me moment when I opened that bag, because I remembered the first time I didn't even try a scarf on because I knew I couldn't afford one, but how beautiful the scarves were that you've been able to create.
So it's a social enterprise, right? I love Aboriginal art. I'm not an artist. I couldn't paint to save my life, to be honest, but I love looking at, and I spend my life looking at beautiful Aboriginal art. And if you ever come to my house, it's just absolutely full of it that I've picked up wherever I've been.
Yes.
So we started digitally printing authentic Aboriginal art onto scarves and ties, and turned that, didn't take long before you start to realise these people who are selling art don't make very much out of it. So we turned it into a social enterprise with the intent to create sustainable incomes for our women in particular.
Yeah.
Probably, in more remote communities, but as it's turned out, I've got people from all over the show. Beautiful artwork. My biggest problem is knowing where to stop.
Yes.
So, and then you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I'm a big collector of scarves now.
Are you? Awesome.
So, and I gift my beautiful grandmother, my business partner, Aunt Lilla, I gift her a scarf from wherever I go. Okay. So I come back and I say, Aunt, I brought you something. So she only loves the best of the best with scarves, loves silk. You've got is it
Cashmere.
Cashmere. What was in cashmere?
Pashmina. So they're often called pashminas. That's where, you're probably a bit confused.
Did you get into doing those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do cashmere and silks.
I knew, because I was looking at it, I was like, I'm not even going to ask the price of these because of the quality I knew.
Yeah.
So high quality, luxury, these, they are a luxury item.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the intent of it.
Yes.
Because for me, one of the things that I saw regularly was this disparagement of our culture. Nothing, like what a load of rubbish it is. So it annoyed the hell out of me. So, of course, my first instinct was to prove that wrong. I love proving people wrong, don't you?
It's a good feeling, eh?
Yes.
Take that.
Take that. So, of course, I was always going to go high end with anything I did in that space to try and associate our culture and our stories with, really positive, nice stuff.
Yes.
Meaningful
just
stuff.
The high standards that we have as black fellas for ourselves and what we do and what we invest in or support.
Yeah.
We're no different to, non-Aboriginal people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you started with the scarves.
Scarves and ties. And then in 2016, I met a lady here who worked in the fashion industry. Well, we used to have we don't have a fashion event each year now, but and she said to me, I took in some scarves for her to have a look at, and she looked at me, she said, are you completely crazy? And I went, what do you mean? And she said, these prints, these colours, this artwork is stunning. You need to do something more with that. So anyway, I thought about it for 3 minutes and said, okay, what do I do?
Yeah. Where do I start?
Where do I start? And so she introduced me to a designer here who helped me do my first collection.
And this is in 2016,
summer of 17. We had our first runway down on City Beach with Camilla.
Stop it.
Yes. Mind you, people were a bit more interested in Camilla than Kirrikin in those days.
That's a start, though, to get the brand out with Camilla.
Yes, yeah. So that was gorgeous.
You didn't have to wait 10 years to do that.
No, I didn't. I mean, it was, it was a pretty limited, it wasn't it was a pretty small collection.
That's right, you were there.
Yeah, and, the beauty of that has been that Aboriginal models, photographers, makeup artists all become involved. And you know what? There's a heap of them around and doing amazing work. So for me, that was really sort of special. And we've just gone on and developed from there. And so in 2022, I spent the last 3 months of the year in Paris studying how to be a fashionista. So, I'm
now you're I love this. 3 months in Paris to be a fashionista.
Yeah.
Why not go to Paris?
Well, where else would you go?
Where else would you go?
Yeah, why not?
So tell us about Paris.
So I had 3 months there. I won a Churchill Fellowship, which was amazing because it was they were sort of looking for something different. They often do medical and educational things. So this was sort of a different type of enterprise that they were investing their energy in, which was great. So I won it in 2019, but of course then I was supposed to go in 2020 and guess what happened,
We were locked down.
Yeah.
And you fellas copped it in WA. You can even, your borders were the hardest borders.
Yeah, we could barely walk to the end of the street before, it was a bit like that. And I finally decided when everything opened up in May 22, I sort of went, I've got to do it because I only had another 12 months to to be able to access the fellowship. Yeah.
Fellowship.
Yeah. And so I said, I'm going to go and do this. So I started looking for a few courses, and I was actually really wanted to go to London because there was a really, there was a lot of stuff there prior to the pandemic, but it all disappeared. Paris was still running. They just kept running straight through. So I just linked into one of theirs and did 3 months with an amazing Russian designer she was, who ran the whole course. And that was a lot of fun. And it's interesting to learn new skills like that.
It's never too late.
No, it's never too late. God,
Tell these people now that are watching this.
Yep, never too late. I'm 66 this year, and so I was 64 when I did it. And a few people did question me about, like, why are you doing this at this stage of your life, but...
because I want to, and I can.
And I want to see where it's taking me. So I've sort of... This year's collection, you'll see a really big change. We're looking a lot more sophisticated, and I guess we've used a Noongar artist with 2 beautiful prints this year. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming out probably about May, June this year. Mm-hmm. But so really, whilst the individual skills you develop as you go along, what it gave me is a lot more confidence. And I'll tell you something, living in Paris is a constant inspiration. We had this beautiful little apartment up in the, one level up that we, carry our baguettes back to every night. Was very, so kitsch, so typical. But it was the course itself was very engaging. As I said, the designer who ran the course was from Russia, which also was really an eye-opener. Everybody, we're sort of taught from a young age that Russians are evil, and they're not,
Or Germans are evil.
Whatever.
South Africans, there's always...
someone.
Yeah.
Always someone, isn't there?
That kind of stay in your...
Yeah.
So,
that's how we've been educated. Well, certainly in my era anyway, there was this,
of course.
Yeah. But I loved working with her, and she and I still keep in contact. In fact, and so part of the reason I wanted to go to Europe was because in early 2022, we, out of the blue, had been approached by DFAT in Brussels to come and do a runway show there because they had a big Aboriginal art exhibition there. So they wanted to enhance it, sort of develop it some way. And I convinced them that whilst I'm really happy to go, I think that, I'm not representative of Aboriginal Australia. There's, a heap of other people that I could take along. So at that time we took with us also Mara Collective and Ngali and ourselves. So we had a 3-group runway. Oh, and Leandra Swim, of course, from the Northern Territory, my beautiful Leandra.
And Leandra's had an episode on Black Magic Woman.
Yeah, she's a legend. So there was 4 of us who went over, had the best time, blew their socks off. We took a young boy from here, one of the Collard boys, who did the most amazing dance and introduction for us. And people were sitting, most of them were Australians who were over there for the UN, NATO, UNESCO, whatever, all those international organised
diplomats.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And they're sitting in their seat crying. They couldn't believe this. They were all really homesick, and they were they couldn't believe how beautiful
this display of culture.
The stories that we were telling. And so that was a lot of fun. And one of the things that I did observe, though, was that, and somebody made this point to me, for the first time in their life, we took a couple of young models. For the first time in their lives, their culture was up there on the stage looking amazing, people loving it. They were treated with not only interest but respect, right?
It does a lot for anyone.
Absolutely.
But especially for people who...
haven't done that,
haven't been given an opportunity, haven't been given a chance to get to know us and to see us for who we are as people, not just our Aboriginality, but who we are as people.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
It's terrible.
For some of our mob that had to leave their own country to experience that. Yeah. But at the same time, how empowering and exciting and uplifting that you will remember that moment, and they'll remember that moment for the rest of their life.
For the rest of their lives. We took a photographer along who also one of the hooky boys from North Queensland, great photographer. And again, he, from that he's gone on, he's got an international career going on.
Go.
He's off all the time applying for this and that and the other. But all the time he was over there, he was hustling hard to get, to work with models in Paris and London and put that in his portfolio. How amazing is that? Cassie Purantatamari, I don't know if you know Cassie.
I do. She was on the front cover, was it Vogue?
Oh, she's on everything these days.
Everything.
Yeah.
I got to get Cassie on my podcast.
She's a great kid. She came with us. So that on that trip she came with us because Leandra knew her,
of course,
and she was developing
They're
as
like
a model.
Mob.
Yeah, they are Mob, I think.
Yes.
Well, Tiwi,
Yeah,
yeah.
same Mob.
But she was developing as a model. But look, the last couple of years, what's happened to her?
Vogue magazine.
Yeah.
So you've been able to, from fashion, mining, and your business in the resources sector, you're going back. How long now you've been in business for?
So up until my son was born, who's now 25,
yes,
I worked in big business like BHP and Rio Tinto and blah, blah, blah. So then for a couple of years I consulted from home, and then in 2003 I started my first business, which was in the mining industry. So that, took a while to develop, and I had that business called Max Engineering until 2015, was sold off to another big international business.
Mm-hmm. So you've sold a business.
Yeah.
Pretty deadly.
Pretty deadly. Well, that sounds great, but you don't end up a millionaire from that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was, and it was a smallish business in Port Hedland.
Yeah. But it was of value to somebody.
It was of
they
value.
wanted to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to be able to build a business as a black woman.
Yeah. And sell it.
Yeah. Like that's a huge achievement, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I've always thought, of one day, will I sell Black Card? Will I license it? Now I've got a podcast network, Black Cast. Will I ever sell that? What is it going to be? Am I building an empire? Do I want to build an empire? Like I'm always thinking about an exit strategy.
Yes, good.
And then
plan.
I start thinking, do I want an exit strategy? So I get torn around. I'm in business. Is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? But hearing other people, what they've done, it's not always about making millions of selling a business. It could be a new chapter, right?
One door closes, another one
opens.
Yeah, and for me, it took me a couple of years. The really hard thing, like you, I built that business from nothing, from absolutely nothing. I had a redundancy payout from my last job in the mining industry, and that's what we started. It wasn't a lot of money in those days. I think it was about $12,000 or something like that. But we started that business from that. So every cent I had went into it, and we built it up. And the worst thing for me was letting go. I cried.
It's like a baby.
It is like a baby, yeah.
You gave birth to it.
Yeah.
You cradled it. Nurtured it, and then you got to let go of it.
Yeah, and so that was the worst thing for me. And the day they turned off my email address,
cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, that was it. That's what it felt like. I was in tears. I was like, how dare they do that to me?
Yes.
But of course, it's not my business anymore.
So you grieved, and you got through it. You've come out the other side. Look at you now.
Look at me now. Yeah,
can't stop you. So for people that are listening, in particular, I always want to address black women, young women, any women, young girls that are aspiring models, photographers, artists, entrepreneurs. What's some of the key learnings as a woman in business that you want to share with us? Some of the key learnings.
I think
just got a lot of experience. I don't usually get into key learnings and stuff, but I just think that how valuable to hear some of your key learnings.
Thank you.
In the different industries.
Yeah. I think, I guess the first thing is always keep your mind open and be flexible. Because you know what? You get and I used to do this too, get a picture in my head about where I wanted to be. Doesn't always work like that. And business is about being responsive.
Yeah.
So you've got to do what your client wants, not necessarily tell them what you want them to do.
Yes.
Right?
Listen to your clients.
Yeah.
And be open.
Yeah.
Be flexible.
Yeah. So I'd say, excuse me, that's probably one of them. And the other one is you got to keep, you have to fail before you can succeed. You have to learn what's not the right thing to do before you learn how to do the right thing, if that makes sense.
So there's nothing wrong with failing. And I think that's really important, me being in business and literally failing many times, trying to launch this product. This didn't go down well. Trying to tell a client what I think they need when they're telling me, no, we want this. And I'm like, oh, I don't have that. And then now starting to think, well, why haven't I already created that?
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't ready to respond. I might not always be the right partner.
Yeah.
Right? So flexibility
is everything. Is everything in business, I think, and responsiveness. So, as you say, you might not actually have what your client wants at that moment, but you can go and have a look and say, maybe I can do something with that or a part of that, or, take that and change it into that, and it happens. And the other thing that I always say is never take no for an answer. Go back, figure it out again, go back again to your clients and say, well, sorry, that didn't work, but how about this? Will this work? Would this get me some traction?
Yeah.
How can we find a path through all this?
Don't take no for an answer. Go and get some feedback. If there is a no, understand what went wrong so that you can improve. You cannot improve if you don't know where those shortfalls are or those gaps are or whatever capacity, capability, whatever it is, get feedback. And that's something that I haven't really done myself because I've never gone out to compete for business. Yeah. So I don't procure.
You're quite unique. You're a unicorn, aren't you, really?
Yes. So I don't need feedback because I don't go and compete.
Yeah.
And that's unique in its sense. There's a lot of black businesses that would say, wow, you don't compete for business.
Yeah.
In that competitive procurement process. No, I don't have to, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's
great position to be in.
It's a great position, but it's taken a long damn time to get to this
there.
position.
That's it. Overnight success takes a bit of time, doesn't it?
Yeah. And surrounding myself with good people, and that rubs off on me as well. And listening to, what they do, how they did things. Who do you go to for advice, or do you have any mentors?
So I guess that over time there's been a number of them because, there's a whole heap of stages in your life that, when I was young, I used it. My dad was Aboriginal, my mum wasn't. So, if I wanted to understand who I was and where we came from, it'd be Dad I'd go to.
Of course.
But if it was about, other womanly stuff, I'd go to my mum.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Which makes sense, yeah. And then, just understanding the mining industry. Again, my dad, because he'd worked in it for years and, always worked in remote places and lived in remote places. But over time, people you work with. So I guess in more recent times, I listen a bit to my son. It sounds funny to be listening to somebody who's so much younger than you.
Or they have a different
view. Gen, whatever they are.
Yeah,
millennials.
Z and
who knows? I'm not sure.
The millennials.
Yeah, millennials.
So your son.
Yeah, who's 25 and he, has a completely different take on life. And it's really interesting when we employ people, the business the Warrigal business employs a lot of people.
How many people?
Got about 1,200 employees.
Stop it.
No lie. Not a word of a lie.
1,200 employees. That is a massive organisation.
It is a big organisation.
There's not many black organisations in this country that have that many employees. There's only a few. And I think one that I met, a deadly woman that was on this podcast, that was an IBA partnership series that I did.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of her name, and I know the last name was Mason. Clint, do you remember her? Priscilla. I'd ask my deadly producer here. Priscilla Mason was literally, for me, just blew me out of this world with 400 employees. That to me was like, sis, you just look like me. We're just black women doing our thing. and you're humble, you're grounded. It hasn't changed you, because some people will say that the bigger you get, obviously, people start to, lose themselves.
Yeah.
Or lose touch with their community.
Yeah.
And their family. How important is your community to you?
Look, I probably would say that I'm more involved with the Noongar community and the bits of the Pilbara.
Because you've been here for majority of your life.
Most of my life, yeah.
And that's good that you've been able to find your community here and your sense of belonging in this community.
And honestly, they're great. They're a great mob, right? Like all of us, like they try to do their best and get along. But one of the things that I particularly love about Warrigal that we're able to do is we get men as they come out of prison and they're trained and we put them on site. And
you have a focus on
ex-offenders. Ex-offenders, I don't know.
A mob that have been,
had it rough.
Yeah,
usually
put into prison and usually forgotten about.
So we've got a team of around 30, I think, or 35 that work with us regularly. They're fantastic. They're a fantastic group of guys. So, and we're actually just working with another group now to see if we can expand that further, can get more of those, not just ex-offenders, but
giving mob opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it amazing as business owners that we are in a position to be able to do more?
It's incredible.
To give back to our community.
It's incredible. We also work with a lot of smaller developing Aboriginal businesses, which is also great. We're able to carve off bits of work for them and help them develop as businesses as well. Yeah. So look, for me at this stage of my life, I feel incredibly privileged to have had this understanding of culture, although, most of it is Noongar, it's not my own. It's still fantastic and the people have been great. The connections are wonderful. You've just had Uncle Oral here and
Lorraine Pryor and Auntie Mari, her mother.
Amazing.
I feel incredibly privileged, to be welcomed and just supported on this country. Not just welcome, see you later, sis, and nice that you're here. And even Wally.
Yeah.
And his partner with Go Cultural Tours. I've just been immersed in the culture here and I don't want to leave. And I'm usually homesick by now.
Yeah.
I've been away for 4 days.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that I feel privileged to be able to sit on this couch and have this yarn and to be connected with you. Thank you. I did not realise that our Wonnarua connection,
there you go,
will always...
Cousins.
Yes, we're blood, we're mob. Even though you're on this side of the country and I'm over there on the East Coast, I'm going to make sure that not only do I stay in touch with you, but just to reach out. Because there's not enough of us in terms of black women in business that are supporting each other.
Yeah.
Mentors. It's not even, we should not wait till times get tough.
Yeah.
We should be connecting with each other and just celebrating our wins as well.
Absolutely. Should be more of it. Actually, there's not enough of it.
There's not. That's why I'm like thinking you're going to get sick of me.
Oh, good. I'll look forward to that.
Well, we're going to catch up a little bit later. I'm going to be able to go and actually shop, go and try on some more beautiful Kirrikin garments, some high-end fashion, and I hope that you also jump online and take a look at the beautiful clothes that are there and also the new collection coming out mid this year. Can I just say thank you? It's been an absolute privilege to just yarn and to hear your story. I didn't know 80% of what you shared with me. I don't like to Google people. I like to hear firsthand for the first time, and my reactions are actually authentic. So thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule to be here.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Till next time.
Absolutely.
Bye for now.
Bye.
If you'd like any more info on today's guest, please visit our show notes in the episode description. A big shout out to all you Deadly Mob and allies who continue to listen, watch and support our podcast. Your feedback means the world. You can rate and review the podcast on Apple and Spotify, or even head to our socials and YouTube channel and drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. The Black Magic Woman podcast is produced by Clint Curtis
and brought to you by the Black Cast Network.